I want to say something too. The reason that a lot of reporters will not cover internal polls of any candidates, let alone a presidential candidate, they'll say, well, you're biased. You want your candidate to win. No, you can't be biased internally because you're deploying resources. The greatest resources we have, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, you're putting the money, you're deciding where to run the ads, you're deciding where to beef up the ground game. Yep. And so you don't want disingenuous polls. But here's the deal. I said to your Chris Wallace on January 29th, 2017, I was on his Fox News Sunday show. We had only been here less than 10 days. And he asked me a question about it. He said, Chris, not a single person has lost his or her job who was chronically wrong about this election in 2016. I predict it's not going to happen again after 2020. Nobody cares and nobody wants to cure this problem. If this were a real business, the C-suite would be cleaned out, the shareholders would revolt, and the consumers would vote with their feet. They'd go elsewhere. But these polls weren't scientific evidentiary measures of what was going to happen. They're wishful thinking. And here's one thing. I was a pollster for decades. And I used to give paid speeches about polls too and advise clients. One thing we all have to remember is it's becoming increasingly difficult to sample enough people in each cohort by race, by gender, by age, by geography, by party affiliation. And you have to wait, WAIT, to finish a poll over a series of days for it to be accurate. But what's happening is they're weighting, WEIGHT, their results. So they're getting a small number of responses in an individual cohort and extrapolating that. But where is the consequence? They are so chronically wrong. There were people on TV last night who predicted a blue wave, an early night, a rebuke of the Trump agenda. The Trump agenda won up and down the ballot. We're holding the Senate. We picked up in the House. The state legislatures. Pelosi's got a big problem now because the squad that doesn't do squat except be
they're going to make a run
at
her.
Being famous,
they're going to make a run
at her. They did last time. So they're definitely going to make a run at her because all we hear about is she's powerful. Look at her mask. It matches her dress again. She didn't do anything to build her coalition, her majority. But Leader McCarthy and the Trump agenda did. And it was a real rebuke. I also just want to read you this. It's on my Twitter thing, but let me just quickly. In South Carolina, Jamie Harrison, African-American man, they spent $109 million. Lindsey Graham beat him. Amy McGrath, $90 million to lose by Mitch McConnell by big double digits. Sarah Gideon, the aforementioned Maine, she lost to Susan Collins, but not before $69.5 million was spent. Mary Hager in Texas lost to John Cornyn, $24 million spent. Those are female candidates, minority candidates that Democrats recruit to try to unseat Republican candidates. They lost every single time they did it. We picked up at least one female U.S. senator. Are you hearing about that? No. And by the way, speaking of female U.S. senators, where's Kamala Harris? Joe Biden literally yesterday had her off to the side, silenced, as he was saying, the voters will not be silenced. I don't want the voters to be silenced. But why is your vice presidential running mate about to make history silenced?